All right. So, hey, Danny, how you doing, girl?
Hey, Alicia. I'm great. I'm feeling good.
Okay, we are back in our at-home studios because there's literally no excuse for you not to learn, grow, do all the things. If you got Wi-Fi, you can figure it out. All these platforms, you can figure it out.
2022, honey, that is the way to go.
Listen, show enough. And it's funny too, because it also leans into the conversation that we're going to have today about self-sabotage, right?
Yeah. Coming up with all the excuses and all the reasons why you can't, when you should just be thinking about solutions and figuring out why you can. But that brain get to going and just start coming up with all the reasons. And don't it be making so much sense too?
It's making real sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, absolutely, I cannot get up at 6 a.m. and exercise. Like,
how could I ever?
I got 4 hours of sleep. I'm a little exhausted. Can't do it. And then your mind is like, no, you can't. Stay in the bed. It's warm. It's cozy.
It's safe here for most people. Stay here, sis. Stay here. No, it's so funny. So today we have literally hands down one of my favorite humans in all the world. And I know people like, you have a lot of favorite humans. Yes, because God has blessed me with some of the most amazing, like I tell Danny all the time. Yeah. Like I tell Danny all the time, like God may not have given me riches to start. Now He given me riches to end this life thing, but He may not have given me riches to start this whole life thing. But the type of friends and just people who I care about and just genuine, honest to God, amazing folks, they are golden. And Emmelie De La Cruz, listen, y'all, not only is she a comedian, she missed her true calling because she is a comedian. She is a fractional CMO and also a certified lady of leisure. Okay. And she keeps it 100% real all the time. There is no, oh, I'm drinking my own bullshit ass lemonade. That's just not how it works. So I'm super excited to have this conversation, and we are going to bring her onto the virtual stage. Hey, Emmelie.
Hey there. How are y'all?
We are great. So happy to have you and just get into this conversation because you be dropping all these gems on your IG. So we need you to bring them on over here and sprinkle some on us too in our audience, because your IG is just full of all the gems, y'all. If y'all are having any kind of an off day, she'll just be in her car just dropping gems on y'all, okay?
I really do try my best to, share what I'm going through, but I will admit that because of the algorithm and reels and this and that, I probably don't share like as much as what goes on in my head, because it's like every single day I'm reading. I go to therapy every week. Like I always have all these revelations, and I feel like, dang, am I really like, do the people even care about what I have to say? So it's really like reaffirming for you guys to say that, and like to know, people are watching, people actually
Yes.
and they're like, and what I have to say. So thank you.
Absolutely. Listen, I've been getting my whole life. Number one, because everything you say, I know it don't be 9 times out of 10, it don't be comedy, but you literally be telling me to, sis, get your fucking life together. And in just the funniest way that I just be like, you know what? Yes, I should get my life together. Let me start right here.
And of course, I'm sure, I love Alicia's introduction of you, fractional CMO, you're a lady of leisure, but who do you say that you are? If someone has to ask you, like, who are you? What would you say?
Well, I always lead with, I am a girl from the South Bronx. I was born and raised in the South Bronx, and I moved to Atlanta, and now I'm here in Dallas, Texas. And really, I think who I am is a lot because of, the Bronx, about where I grew up, because I grew up, with my grandparents. I went to Catholic school my whole life, so I wasn't really like outside. I didn't even know how to dress myself until I got to college. And I even looked back and I was like, sis, you were better off in the uniform. You really were. It wasn't giving. And I just feel like all of those experiences, once I got to college and I started like meeting people that weren't from the Bronx, I was just like mind blown. Like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe there's just so many people and so many things. And it's like, y'all don't eat rice and beans and chicken every day for dinner. Like y'all be eating other stuff like vegetables. Wow. Like shocking, like I just was out so much. And I think the more and more that I learned about people and things and culture, the more and more that I just wanted to share. So a lot of my career in marketing has just been built off me sharing my experiences, sharing what I'm learning professionally or personally with an online audience, because I'm an only child. Like I didn't have an older sister or anybody, to really lean on when I was growing up. So there was a lot of like lessons that I wish that I knew, but nobody necessarily taught me that I had to, learn the hard way.
You know what? I've been thinking a lot too about that. Funny that you say about that whole learning the hard way piece, because I'm one of those people who, if you tell me the stove is hot, I'm gonna just have to at least get near it a little bit, just, at least feel, the heat a little bit, just so I can confirm, I don't want to be in a space where I can neither confirm or deny. I got to be able to confirm for myself that, it actually is hot. And I was speaking to one of the men that I'm dating, and he was just saying, he was like, well, I don't think it's that you learn the hard way. I think it's that you learn your way. And if more people came to understand how they learn best and accept that without putting a negative connotation on it, then you're able to grow without kind of like a butterfly when they're trying to come out of their cocoon. He was like, what would happen if you took their cocoon and put it in your hand to cover it? He was like, no matter how strong the butterfly's wings are, yes, he'll eventually get out, but it's so much easier if you just simply open your hand and allow it to happen versus trying to fight and resist how you learn and what works for you. Yeah. So I say all that to ask, with, like I say, learning the hard way, what has been some of your most impactful, mind blowing, life-changing lessons that you learned that actually turned into blessings for you?
There are so many, but I think the one that I always go back to is I'm allowed to change my mind, right? I'm really allowed to decide that what I believed yesterday, last week, last month doesn't have to necessarily be what I believe today. And oftentimes I feel like I will force myself to stay in situations, to not want to change my viewpoint because I felt like, oh, well, I'm being inconsistent, or I'm being disloyal, or I sound flaky. But really it's like, I have to give myself the opportunity to evolve. So what I thought and believed was true when I was 18 years old in the Bronx is not necessarily what I have to believe to be true now at 31 living in Dallas. And that is something that I always have to carry with me so that I don't get stuck in a past version of myself that I've outgrown or I've evolved for the sake of consistency.
Oh, yes. You must be my soul sister, girl, because I live by that. I feel like I probably said that on this podcast 100 times. The importance of getting new information and adjusting. That seems to be like a very foreign, thing, especially for like this era of social media. It's like everyone just wants to just hold really strong to whatever their stance or their political party or whatever their views are. And they get new information and it doesn't matter. And I'm just like, yeah, but that's not like, you don't care that they said that wasn't it anymore. Like, I'm a life and health coach, and I still have people that come to me about like fat free, right? And, in the 90s, there was like this fat free craze where it was like, oh, if it's fat free, it's better. Fat makes you fat and all kind of stupid shit like that. And I mean, it's been at least a decade that science has debunked that. And I still have people like, oh, but don't it got to be fat free? And I'm like, no, like, and the thing is, you give the information and they're still just like, nah, but I mean, that's how my mom ate. That's how my granddaddy ate. And it's just like, yeah, but now that you have new information, you just don't want to adjust at all. So I love that you say that, because I think that holds so many people really evolving and really finding out who they are, is feeling like I have to hold on to this part of my identity because that's what people know me as, or that's where I feel comfortable, rather than being like, hey, that doesn't serve me anymore. Let me move on to this new thought process that can help move me forward. So I'm all about that.
And I love that you mentioned that it's like, oh, well, like this is how we ate, or like this is how my mom did it. Because for me, what I learned is that the biggest, the people that hold us back the most are usually our families, right?
Yes.
This is how my mom did it. Oh, my mom said I should raise my kid this way. Oh, my dad used to do it this way. Oh, my grandma used to season it this way. It's like, baby girl, if you're Paula Patton, You don't have to season the chicken like your mama was seasoning the chicken.
You don't.
It does not make sense. So, oh, well, that's how my family used to do it. It's just an excuse or like a crutch that we lean on of tradition, and it really just like doesn't make sense in 2022. Because I can even remember like growing up, my grandma would always say like, you need to go to school and you need to get a good job and make a lot of money so that you don't need a man to take care of you. I do need a man to take care of me. Baby, I do. Life alone. I'm not trying to go through life miserable. And when you look at all of the people that are giving you all of this advice and giving you these like ways to live, oftentimes they're not people whose life you're interested in duplicating.
Ooh, yes.
That, you know, our parents, as much as we love them and as much as our moms are heroes and our dads are, you know, heroes, it's like they were figuring it out just like us. Okay. We just came up off.
Yes.
Okay. Baby girl, we no cookouts. Okay. We ain't even on the grill. So we cannot be over here claiming to be the new version of adults when we're still trying to figure it out. And our parents were even younger, you know, like their mid to late 20s, figuring it out. Like they did not know life, you know. So for them to be like our permanent teachers and like the permanent way that we do things is, to me, like really crazy. And one of the biggest reasons why people just like stay stuck, honestly, because they're just so stuck in like, oh, well, this is my family, right?
Listen, first of all, you hold preaching, and you all up in our conversation, primarily because we were, I was talking to somebody on actually Monday. They're like, oh, what cookouts are you going to? I was like, we don't really do a cookout. I don't even own a grill. I could Uber Eats something. So I Uber Eats some barbecue. And went to a friend's pool. Like, who trying to be out there hot and sweaty? That is not my ministry. Let me find somebody whose ministry it is, so that I can patronize them. And we just move on our happy, merry way. I exchange money. They give me some food and we both be happy. So it really is, it's amazing. I do believe that it is one of the greatest forms of self-sabotage, allowing yourself to stay in a pattern that no longer works for you. Like, it don't work, sis. Why are you still there? You don't even like the outcome. You trying to keep yourself and keep others in boxes that you don't even like. So what would you say are some of, like, I don't know whether it's 1, 2, 3 steps or just, you know, three things that people can do to help walk them out of the boxes that they put them in. You sabotage yourself by staying still, by being unwilling to flex or to change your mind, and by not trusting yourself. Like, those are just 3 ways in which you could sabotage yourself. But how do we walk ourselves out of it? Like, okay, some people knows what it looked like. So how can we, all right, bet that's a way in which I sabotage myself, or I literally throw myself up against the wired gates. I'm getting all cut the fuck up. How can I change that? Like, what are some ways that we can do so?
So the first thing is really understanding that feelings and emotions are just signals, right? Oftentimes we think, oh, because I feel a certain way, it's a bad emotion. It's a bad thing. I can't feel sad. I can't feel angry. I can't feel depressed. I can't feel this. And when I really learned that our emotions are just the ways that our body going, you know, let's say you're going to go to work in the morning and you start to feel hungry. You don't be in the car like, you fucking bitch, I can't believe you sitting here hungry. The nerve of you. It's like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to get something to eat, right? Or, you know, you're sitting at your desk and you get thirsty throughout the day. You're like, oh, I can't feel thirsty. I need to control my emotions. I need to just stay focused at work. No, you're thirsty. You drink water. So why is it that when we feel upset about something, it's like, oh, well, I can't feel mad. I need to control my emotions. I need to keep it together. When it's like, okay, but why do I feel mad? What is the emotion of anger trying to tell me that I need? Do I need better boundaries? Was there something an expectation that I should have communicated? Is there something that's going on that's frustrating me that I'm not saying or communicating out loud to fix it, right? Like, there's a reason why we feel mad, sad, happy, all these things. So once we first stop and we realize, like, what is this emotion trying to tell me? And what is the need that I need to be met in order for this emotion to go away? It changes the game, because you no longer start to spend all of your time beating yourself up for feeling a certain way or trying to avoid feeling a certain way. You just understand, okay, I feel this way. This is what's going to fix it. Let me go do that thing to fix it. So that's the very first thing. The second thing is understanding what it is that you really want, right? Because oftentimes we stay stuck because we don't have a direction to go in. So it's easier for us to stand still and say that we're stuck and say that we don't know where we want to go, or say that we can't go to the job, or we can't do the business, or we can't do this because of all of these reasons. But really, it's just we are not clear within ourselves what it is that we want. So we can't relentlessly commit to pursuing it, right? When I was in college, I knew that I wanted to graduate. So I did what I had to do to graduate. But when I was, in post-grad and I was working, I didn't really know if I wanted to, work in corporate America forever. My opinions about corporate America started to change. And as my vision, right, and my understanding of what I wanted for my life started to become blurry, that's when I could no longer make decisions, because I was like, okay, well, do I do my business full time? Do I keep trying to work? Do I try to climb the corporate ladder? Should I switch jobs? Should I freelance? Like, I felt like I was overwhelmed with all of these decisions because I didn't really decide, okay, this is what I want. Which one of these choices aligns with what I want best? And instead, I was just like, well, I have all these choices and I'm just overwhelmed. What do I do, Lord? And God is just like, girl, I already told you. So if you want to play this game, we can play it, but play solitaire, okay? And then the third thing I would say, so after you understand your emotions and what they're telling you, and then you understand what it is that you actually want, right? The third thing to getting unstuck is being able to understand that you have to, and I hate using the word push through because it sounds like so much work, but you have to be able to commit to seeing the thing through, right? So understanding, hey, I want to be a business owner, right? I have to commit to taking financial risk. I have to commit to managing a team. I have to commit to possibly maxing out my credit cards. I have to commit to late nights or early morning. I have to commit to showing up. There are things that I just have to commit to if I know that what I want is to be a business owner, right?
Yeah.
But often what happens is we commit to the thing, but we don't commit to the process. So then when all of these things start to pop up, now we in crisis. Now it's like, oh, it's too hard. But it's like, girl, this is just part of the process. Like, we already know what's coming. So just accept the fact that it's coming and that you're going to get through it and do the thing. If not, don't say that you want the outcome if you're not willing, to go through all of the steps. And I think for me in my life, when I've sabotaged myself is when I saw the obstacles between me and the outcome that I wanted as greater than my ability to overcome them. So, I have to, social media. Y'all know me and social media, it's going to blow up today. And I would literally make sure that there is no water anywhere to turn the fire off. Just burn. Let's
let it burn.
So, Lord, I hope I have a Amazon Echo over here. I hope they're not listening to me about to snitch on me. But
Big brother.
I'm not going to be, I don't want to get caught for arson, but with social media, I'm like, okay, I hate social media. Like, it's dumb. It's an algorithm. Like, why are we even motherfucking here? But when I realized that it's like, social media is something that I have to do to get to the outcome, I'm like, okay, well, how can I make it work for me? All right, I'm not going to create organic content anymore. I'm going to run ads. What comes with ads? Well, you have to spend money. You have to know they're not always going to work, but that's a risk that I'm willing to take for the piece of not having to show up organically, right? But before, the self-sabotage was, oh my gosh, well, since I don't want to do social media, since I don't want to make reels, then I can't have a business. Why? Why does it be one or the other? Like, why can't we figure out how to make it happen, not if it can even happen?
Girl, you sure enough preaching up in here. God damn, I need to go ahead and pass a collection plate or something.
Notes, sis. All the notes, okay?
Listen, I was sitting up here trying to write it down in my head. Like, okay, all right, make sure I talk about this and ask it. The whole, especially you're committed to the outcome, but you're not committed to the process. That's a whole motherfucking word. Yeah. Everybody wants the results. Everybody. Yes. And it literally drives me bonkers. Everybody wants the results. Nobody wants to do the fucking work. And I'm not saying work hard, because I too have joined the Lady of Leisure Club. I too strongly believe, yes, sis, I'm supposed to have a man. My mother told me the same foolishness. You want to make sure that you can always do it and you don't never need a man for nothing. Bah humbug. Lies. Lies. That is not.
Rebuke that. Rebuke that.
I rebuke that in the name of Jesus Christ and all the other ones. We ain't doing that no more. Yes, I want multiple men at this point. Take care. You take care of this one. You handle this one. Thank you so much, sir. Ma'am. The being committed to the outcome, but not being committed to the process, I think is I am sure is one of the biggest ways in which we fail ourselves. And we literally, it's kind of like saying, I love you, but I don't trust your ass.
Yeah.
You don't trust you enough to take a risk. You don't trust you enough to believe that what I don't know, I can learn. What makes me uncomfortable, I'm willing to sit with and to work through until it becomes second nature to me. Danny and I were on calls all day today because we're working on expansion and live events and all these things. And afterwards, I hit up some of the team members we were working with, and I was like, hey, was today overwhelming for you? Because I have been told that I can be an overwhelming human.
You ain't do that. You didn't care if I was overwhelmed. What about me? I didn't get that time.
Because I didn't care if you were overwhelmed, because you have to be committed to the process. Exactly. So
I have a choice, overwhelmed or not. Here we are.
Yeah, sorry, dog. you in here.
Not Alicia fostering a toxic work environment.
I was like,
but just with my co-host though, But everybody else, they get a different version of me, right? They need a different version. Danny know I'm rough. I be softening when I need to, but she know I'm a little rough. And so I hit him and I asked him, I was like, hey, was today overwhelming for you? And they both responded back, the team members who we met today, they both responded back and they were like, it was overwhelming. However, we need this in order to get to where we're going. And I just felt like a proud mama bird, because I was just like, what? You get it without me having to explain that, hey, this is just the process. It's rough and tough and grueling sometimes in the beginning. And I don't want to, so we don't want to sit in the grueling piece. We'll give it that for at least a day, but it can be tough. It can be challenging, but you sabotage yourself every time you tell yourself, I don't trust you. And you tell yourself, I don't trust you, when you're not willing to, like you were saying, feel those feelings. It's cool. You get to feel overwhelmed, especially with new information.
I think a lot of times, especially when I'm like also listening to podcasts and I hear someone say all the wonderful things Emmelie just said, it's like, okay, but my question is always, and I'm so happy I get to be the person who asks it now, because every time I listen to podcasts, I'm like, wow, they sound like, wow, they're really doing the work. They've learned so much. But it's like, but how the fuck did you get there? Like, how did you get to that point of thinking like that? Because, I don't even think most people know that they're self-sabotaging. And I think that's why it's so effective, is because it's a very insidious, under the radar kind of a monster that you don't even realize that you're doing it to yourself. And I think it creates this dynamic where you can confuse self-sabotage with just trying to protect yourself and stay comfortable. And it's a very blurry line where you're like, okay, am I self-sabotaging or am I just trying to protect myself? Because it kind of feels like the same thing. Right? Because your body's literally designed to protect you from change. Anytime your body literally reads change as death. If it's going to change, it's a good chance we're going to die. So I'm going to just cocoon here and I'm going to do everything I need to do to keep you the same, because change could result in death. I mean, that's literally how our ancestors lived. I just always want to know, since I get to ask this question, it's like, how do you get to the space that you're at? What are the steps that you've taken to know what to do? Because I think a lot of people are always like, well, that sounds good, but how?
I lived a lot of life. Okay. I'm 31 going on 79. With you, it's getting elderly. Okay. Outside of my back always constantly hurting at this point and my knees giving out, it's absolutely giving osteoporosis of the soul. That the Bronx made me who I am, I come from a place where literally last summer, out of all of the kids that grew up on in my neighborhood, on my block, I'm the last one that's alive. Not the one that made it out, not the one that went to college. I'm the last one that's alive, you know? And when people are constantly, you know, just thinking about like, well, how can I get better in my business, or how can I get better in my career? And they become so obsessed with like chasing these accomplishments. I decided I didn't give a fuck about the accomplishments, because I just need to survive. Literally, I need to survive, you know? And when you think about how much money and time and effort we spend on business courses, on business conferences, on a coaching programs, on all of these things, and the small percentage of time that we spend on therapy, on personal development, we don't want to meditate, we don't want to eat right, we don't want to sit with our thoughts, we don't want to put the phone down. You know, I've gotten off of social media for 8 months, you know, literally deleted the app off my phone, shut down the account. People were like, girl, where you went? I was like, I was out of here. And then, like I said, I had the realization of like, oh, baby girl, if you're trying to run a business, you need to go be on Instagram. You know, you're going to have to crawl back over there and say, I'm sorry to the people. But I just really decided, you know, I'm going to get out of survival mode, and I'm going to focus on developing myself. We focus way too much on business development as entrepreneurs. And in our careers, we focus so much on like climbing the ladder and getting the skills and getting the certificates and doing all of these things for money. But we don't focus on how can we better ourselves for ourselves. So it's therapy every week for years. I've been in therapy weekly since 2018. It's focusing on getting like my spiritual life together. You don't necessarily have to believe in God, but you know, having some connection to like a higher power, some divine, I think really helps, because you kind of understand like, you know what, I'm not in this alone. Trying to think, you know, I'm one of those people, but I only read like mindset books now. So right now, 101 essays to change the way you think. I got Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. I'm always constantly reading like one of those. I got certified in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is what helped me to understand, you know, how what we think and what we say connects to like how we're programmed to function. Like we're all functioning on autopilot because of the story that we tell ourselves in our minds. And for me, the story I was telling myself was I'm unworthy, right? I came from a home where, unfortunately, when my parents split up, my mom, went to gather herself, because I don't have another term for it, but she took a sabbatical from motherhood for 2 years. So I was raised exclusively by my grandparents. And when she came back, it was like, I mean, girl, you here, but at this point, I'm grown. At that point, I was like 7. So like, girl, I'm grown. Like, I'm just like, you know, me and grandma have it figured out over here. Thank you for circling the block, but you kind of late, you know? So it's like understanding like, oh, okay, well, even though I would never like say it to myself, like, you're not worthy, Emmelie, but it's just kind of like, damn, you know, I kept trying to get the good grades in school and do all these things to like be enough for my mom. But it's like in my head, my programming was, you're not enough. That's why she left you, right? You're not enough. That's why you left the relationship. You're not enough. That's why you let men cheat on you. You're not enough. That's why you try so hard to fit in, right? And when I got in therapy and understood the story that I was constantly telling myself, now I'm armed with the information to combat it, right? To catch myself, right? So for me, all of my self-sabotage is rooted in that not feeling worthy, right? I'm not worthy enough to be a business owner. I'm not worthy enough to be a wife. I'm not worthy enough to be this. So what do? I go seek out situations to validate the story that I'm telling myself. Just the way that we're wired. So when you start to really think about what is it about me that I want to change, understanding the root of that, and then really truly working on developing yourself and understanding it's a daily walk. It's not I'm gonna get in this 6-week life coaching program to find a man, I'm gonna be cured. I'm gonna get in this quick 8-week life coaching. Baby, no. No.
It's gonna take a little longer.
A little bit.
If you thought that 30 years of trauma was going to get cured in 8 weeks, I mean,
the math ain't mathin'. Like, what are we talking about? I literally told that's why I say you connected to some sort of you're connected to a divine energy because it's like you're in my conversations from today. But the first time we even spoke today is today, right here, right now. I literally tell my brother this because he started therapy for the first time. So I'm like, yo, we grew up under some extreme conditions. How we grew up would have broke a whole lot of humans. And he's like, oh, well, I went to therapy today and it was trash. I didn't like it. She was terrible. She didn't even offer any suggestions or anything. I'm like, it's the first day. Did you really expect to go in there and in the first day get all the things that you need to cure yourself, to heal yourself? And so she must be a trash ass psychologist because she didn't cure you in the 30 minutes that you spoke. Bro, how? How, Sway?
Yep. But we so used to the 12-week program that's going to turn us into a millionaire, the 8-week how to find a man boot camp, the whatever, we're just so, and it's so crazy to me because I think about like so many things that we did for such a long time. Like college was 4 years, high school was 4 years. It's like the bare minimum of most things was taking us 4 years. And now it's like 4 weeks is just, wow, it's just way too much time to commit to my healing. Like I don't have time.
It's too much. I can't.
And then it keeps fostering this, like there's this mountaintop that you're supposed to reach. And then once you get there, you just stick your flag in the ground and you're like, all right, I'm healed. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And the work ends. And it's like, nah, sis, when you get to the mountaintop, that's when the work really begins. It's like, it's like, there's so much more. There's like, you look over and it's like, oh, there's another mountaintop. And it's like a million mountains in the distance to keep going. And there's a valley to get to each one. Like you really start to realize like, wow, this is a long journey and there's layers and it's never going to end. And I know that for a lot of people, it can become frustrating because you just never feel done. And we're programmed from we're children to always feel like you have to complete things. You have to accomplish things. Everything has to be like, put a check next to it. And healing just doesn't do that. So it just is one of those things that feels very foreign to us. And your body just fights it and resists it. Your mind is like, what the fuck are you doing? We are fine. That's why people will be like, that's just how I am. That's just how I was raised. That's where I come from. It is what it is. Or I'm gonna drink my water and mind my business. And it's just like, it's just not that simple. It's like people are being affected by the things that you do because you just feel like, oh, I just can't change. There's nothing I can do about anything. And that feeling carries us through life and it just continues to put you in a cycle of self-sabotage. And you're wondering why you can't keep a man or a woman, why you can't hold down even something as simple as a job. Not everyone's an entrepreneur. I know it seems like it on social media, but some people work 9 to 5s and they can't hold jobs down, just regular jobs, because they self-sabotage. They can't have good friendships. They can't, there's so many ways that it shows up, so I'm just happy that, we're kind of coming to a space where I see people talking about it a lot more, that they're like, hey, it's something up with me, where you were able to identify, hey, it's a self-worth thing. Somebody else may be able to identify like, hey, I feel super unloved all the time. Or, hey, I feel like insecure. I don't feel smart enough. I've had someone say that to me before, like they don't like to speak up because they always feel like what they're going to say is stupid. Right. So they self-sabotage and they shut down in every conversation. And you'll think that, oh, they're just quiet. It's like, nah, he's not talking because he thinks he's stupid. Right. And it's just like we don't get to see the best versions of people because they keep telling themselves this story that makes them shrink themselves. And I think it sucks. Me and Alicia are always joking about how people say like everyone's a good parent. Like that's like the theme these days. Like you're not allowed to like call mothers out or fathers out for being like full of shit or horrible because everyone's doing their best. And it's like, if everyone was doing their best, the world would be like a very different place.
Absolutely. And I think it's the same with Christians, right? It's like, all the Christians got it going on. Like all the Christians like have like they don't. We don't.
The world wouldn't be like this. A tree by the fruit it bears. And this tree is really raggedy right now. This world tree, it has rotten fruit. It's just not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not nourishing us. I just don't understand. So I'm always like, I feel like there has to be something deeper going on, especially through parenting and through the experiences that are causing us that's like fucking up our programming. It's just like, it's not just about trauma. It's some of us don't have as much trauma. Some of us just have really fucked up programming. Like, I feel like that's my story more so. I didn't have a super rough childhood, but I have a lot of programming that I'm constantly rewiring every single day, having to have those conversations with myself. Like Tony Jones says, like, talk to me nice. I have to learn to talk to myself nicely. I can talk others nicely, you know? So it's just an ongoing, never ending, exhausting, fulfilling, amazing process. But I think it's totally worth it because it helps you live the life that you want to live.
Absolutely.
Have y'all seen this, the meme that's been literally going around all over the internet? That's like, what's better, the journey or the destination? And then the person responds, the company. Have y'all seen that?
No.
And I love it because I feel like it's such a good like screenshot of society, because it's like we're so focused on either, you know, the journey of like making the journey great and self-care and blah, blah, blah. And then thinking about, you know, the destination and where we're going. And that's important too. But it's like the company is just as important. And when the one person that you're constantly with is yourself.
Yeah. That
and you're not willing to make the journey with yourself
enjoyable.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Wondering why you're alone on it. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm lonely and I don't have any friends. Oh, my relationship has, you know, fallen apart. My business is falling apart. I'm not getting promoted at work. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And it's like we start to look at all these external factors without looking at, okay, I always say this, my current reality is simply a reflection of my past choices. So whatever I'm living in today is just a reflection and the result of what I chose to do yesterday, last week, last month, last year, right? And often what happens is we get to a difficult point. I always use this example, like pretend you're going on a road trip, right? And 2 hours in, you run out of gas. You don't be like, fuck this trip, I'm going back home. You stop, you put gas in the car, and you keep going, right? Mothers, I'm sure you understand, regardless of how, you know, your trimesters went. Like I saw my godson, you know, he was supposed to be born at a birth center, ended up, you know, having an emergency like hospital birth. At no point in time was his mother like, oh, this shit ain't going how I planned. I'm not having a baby anymore. But the kid, I'm giving it up for adoption. We adapt, right? And we keep going. Right. But as soon as we overcome, you know, we get into an obstacle that we feel like we can't overcome, like, oh, a really bad breakup, or, oh, difficulty at work, or difficulty in business, or, you know, church hurt, or friendship falls apart. It's like, fuck it. I'm never going to church again, never having friends again, never fucking with a nigga again, never ever doing nothing again. And it's just like, why are we like this? It's a constant journey. Like we just have to, you know, get the information, gather the information from that specific moment and apply it for the rest of the journey. But we oftentimes are so stuck in looking at what's going on externally that we don't stop to think about, okay, what's happening internally that is the only thing in the situation that I can control to actually, you know, continue to move forward.
Yeah. And to kind of about what the lesson could be, right? Because I never like to take a test more than I need to. So every time something happens in my life, I'm like, all right, class is in session. The test coming. Okay, how do I ace this bitch so I don't got to take it ever again? And it's been a few of them tests I had to run back a few times.
It's so embarrassing because I pride myself on being an intellectual, and I'm like, God damn, slow as fuck. All these times I have had to redo.
And you think you have all the answers the second time, and then the second time you did worse than the first time. It's like, but I thought I figured that out already. Why are we here again? Like that for me sometimes is the hardest part of this journey, is when you think you have figured some shit out and then like another layer of it presents itself, or it comes back in a different form and then you fuck up all over again. Like you didn't just deal with that. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, how are we not adjusting and learning from our mistakes? You know, so I'm always really conscious where every time something, especially if it seems like it's just a rainy season where it's just one thing and it's raining and pouring, I always try to stop and be still and be like, okay, what am I supposed to be learning? How is this supposed to benefit my growth in some way? Because clearly this is happening for a reason. So I think that's stillness is something that really benefit us, even when you're talking about meditating, just taking a moment sometimes and just kind of talking to yourself and having a conversation where you can kind of try to figure out, okay, what is this about? What is this supposed to do for me? As opposed to why is it happening to me? Try to think about what's happening for me next? Like, what is this about for me? And just know that things work together for your good. It's hard to believe that sometimes because sometimes it'd be rough. I know, Alicia, last year you had like some rough patches.
Yo, I thought it was trying to take me out. I was like, it was that meme where when you think you've healed your triggers and then you get triggered again and then you realize, oh man, still fucking crazy. It was wild. It was like for about 9 months. I felt like, oh, so you trying me.
Yeah, but you know, something that you would always say is that you, like, every time like we'd have a conversation, you'd always be like, but I know it means something good is coming. Like, you never really lost sight of the fact that if it's really this bad, it's because some shit is brewing up there for me that I need to be prepared for, you know. And you compare a lot of it to birthing and prepping your body and prepping your life for this life that you want and to go to that next level. So I admire that while you were going through that, to kind of keep that kind of lighthouse mindset of, hey, there's something there for me that's even greater than what I'm experiencing now. Even though it sucks, I know that it's working for me to have an amazing life.
Yeah, definitely sucks. And like, I mean, on a whole nother level, like one day I'm gonna tell the story, but bro, just know that it was like one hit after the other. I was like, oh, so she's just gonna ram me in the fucking face. All right, that's cool. But as we're closing out, I do have one final question. A lot of times folks find it really, really difficult. And it's me, I'm folks, to look in the mirror and identify the areas that they just are not best at. In business, I like to call them areas of opportunity. So what was one of the most glaring truths that you had to tell yourself about yourself, that you had to work through and work on in order to bring yourself to this moment? Because for now, and nothing's perfect. Like, I get it, nothing's perfect. Nobody's ever truly healed all the way. But there does get to a point to where, because you've now exercised the muscle, it's a lot stronger this go round. Because the lighthouse that you were talking about, Danny, that didn't happen until that experience last year. Because before there was no lighthouse, I would just crumble and cry and be done. Now there's a lighthouse, and okay, there's something on the other side of all this bullshit. So for you, when it comes to looking in the mirror and telling yourself the truth, what has been one of those most I didn't realize this was how I am type of truths that you had to tell yourself? And then what was it like working through it?
Ooh, first of all, I too am folks. Okay, you're not alone. I also feel like even now, I have just gotten really good at listening to what other people say about me, and not in a way where it's like I get offended, but in a way where I take it as feedback. So for example, last week I was sitting on the couch and I was talking to my partner about, I don't even know what we was talking about, but I responded to something, and he just like turned his head and looked at me. He's like, do you think you're pessimistic? And I was like, oh shit, I don't know why. And he's like, because literally the last 3 things that you have said have been negative. Because I love to be like, such and such is happening. Oh, but life is ghetto, or I hate it here, or I always add like a little negative, like sprinkle season at the end of my sentences. And he's, I don't know if you realize it, but oftentimes like you'll say something, but you'll always like decorate it at the end with something negative. And is probably why like you're constantly frustrated, because you're always just like looking at the worst case scenario. And instead of me being offended and be like, oh, he's saying I'm pessimistic, I sat with it for a while and I was like, dang, I have been in a season where I just haven't been happy-go-lucky or optimistic or thinking everything is great, because it's like shit is going left and right. Like I signed a lease for an event space. I haven't been able to finish the renovations, and it's been 4 months. And I'm just like, this is the ghettoest shit ever. I need to figure out how to get out this lease, la, 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 la. But again, it's like, if I said that I wanted to own an event space, doing renovations is part of the process to opening an event space. So for me to be like, oh, the renovations are delayed, that means I shouldn't be an event space owner, does not make sense, right? So
Part of the
I like sit down and like listen to that feedback. Same thing, like even when I've had like arguments with friends, or when I think about like past relationships, where like words were exchanged, I really just played those back. And oftentimes we play arguments back, but we playing them back of, oh, I should have said this. I would have said that.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I started playing some stuff back, and I'm like, you know, some people have said that I'm selfish, but why do they feel that way? My grandma, every single time my grandma is on my line, is you never call home. You never call. Girl, there's nothing for me to talk to you about. Like, what are we going to talk about? The news? Every time I call home, and she want to be the Bronx Bulletin, telling me everything that's going on the block. Girl, I don't care, right? Still feedback. Like, you know what? My grandma isn't telling me you don't call. My grandma's telling me I want to talk to you more.
I miss you.
Right? I miss you. So as I've started to like receive the things that people are saying as feedback and not as criticism, I've been able to look in the mirror, because at the end of the day, I think the sun shines out of my fucking asshole. Okay. I think that the world is my stage and Emmelie does no wrong. And it says, yes, to you, you do no wrong. But is that the case for everybody else? You know, I feel like the self-awareness be a little off sometimes, because we be like, I'm perfect. I'm fine. If they the problem, he the problem, she the problem, my boss is the problem. And it's like, baby girl, it's not always them. So I haven't gotten to a point where I'm able to like look in the mirror and be like, this is what's wrong with you. But I'm able to see like how people react to me in certain situations, in certain situations. And I'm able to see like, oh, okay, I see where I can improve, or I see how I'm making them feel, or I see how, you know, I could be coming off this way. And then I, you know, again, get to the root of it. Like, why am I that way? You know, why am I not calling home? Because honestly, I feel like it's a fucking waste of time. Why do you feel it's a waste of time? Because there's other things that I could be doing. Okay, what else are you doing usually that's, you know, keeping you from taking 5 minutes to call your grandma on the phone? Nothing. Okay, so let's do it, you know? But in my head, it's like, oh, I'm too busy. I'm too this. I'm too that. But the real reason is that I just don't want to fucking call home to have the same conversation that we're going to have next week. But when you love somebody and they're 80, you just do what the hell they say, you know? So it's the same thing, like really in terms of like, okay, why do I feel this way? What is a real root of my avoidance or of my sabotage? And then, you know, trying to figure out, you know, how I can fix it from there. But oftentimes we just don't sit with ourselves long enough to even get to the root of the problem. So we just forget about it altogether. And then we get into what you were saying of like the whole, oh, well, this is just the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm short-tempered. This is just the way I am. Oh, I have an attitude. This is just the way I am. And it's like, you're not. You have an attitude because you miserable about somebody that bullied you in 4th grade, sis. Let it go. Let it go.
Shots fired. I mean,
niggas, you mad because your high school sweetheart is happily married to your best friend, girl. It's not fuck niggas, it's fuck that nigga. Now everybody else got to pay for it. You know, when we sit down and we stay still, we get really honest with ourselves.
Yes.
We realize like, oh, you know, this flag that I'm carrying of this is just the way I am has a root cause. And when you get to the root cause, you can start to heal. But as long as you keep avoiding the root of it, you're always going to be in that same cycle, just in different costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, and on that note, we do need to go ahead and pass the collection plate because the sermon is finished. Pastor De La Cruz.
I feel like we need a benediction. With the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts, Lord.
You know, I'll just calling y'all out to the altar. If you believe that the Lord and Savior has come down to save you from your sins, I ask that you come now to the front, my brothers and sisters. Come now.
Listen, I have to take off my spectacles. This conversation was so good. Like, I'm so happy that we had this specific conversation with you, because I knew above all else you would keep it a whole 100% real. And I'm just so grateful just for your light, for your energy, for the comedian that I am positive you should have been.
That she can still be. Okay.
I mean, you believe that that's, you know, your one of your portions in life. Because, you know, we like streams. But no, I'm so
don't
grateful
know
for you.
that is my calling. But I will keep it in mind. You know Marty, right? Marty Woodward.
Yeah.
You and Marty, like you both of y'all. Marty be like, let me be your manager. I'm like, Marty, no. Like I don't even have that much to say, really.
Lies, all lies. And it comes so natural. Listen, I want to know, how can we stay connected? Where can we go? I know you hate Insta, but let us know where that Insta at, because it be all the gems on there too. So let us know, how can we and the people stay connected?
Yes, so you guys can follow me at Emmelie De La Cruz. Don't even bother trying to type it. Just go to the show notes and click it, because it's multiple M's, a couple of E's. You're going to get lost. I also have a podcast called Sanity and Success, so you can subscribe to that across all streaming platforms. More conversations like this, where I basically just tell you my business and give you some mindset and life advice on the way. And you can also reach me on my website, onedaycmo.com.
Yes. And you can stay connected with me at Alicia Reese. It too is spelled very differently. My mother knew I would be unique. Alechia, last name Reese, just like a peanut butter cup, Reese. And Danny, where can we stay connected with you?
You can stay connected with me at Danny Foster. Wait, no, didn't I change it? No,
It's
so
Miss Danny Foster.
Website, it's Miss Danny, MISS Danny Foster. Until I get married, then I'm gonna change it. And then it's Danny Foster Coaching for my website, and book me for coaching and all the things and conversations. And please stay connected with us on our triggered pages at Triggered AFPC and triggeredaf.com. Triggered
Yep.
And you guys, go ahead, and I know that a lot of you are listening to us on the streaming services, but we definitely want you guys to start tuning into the YouTube. It's all uploaded and all up to date now. Praise the Lord. So you can catch up from season 2, when we started doing video and audio, all the way through to the most recent episodes. We drop an episode every single Tuesday. So keep an ear and an eye out, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you soon.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Triggered AF. Remember, don't be consumed by your triggers. Confront it and then work to release it. Whether you leave us more triggered than you came, or you're feeling like you've been open to a new perspective, our hope is that you've grown. Make sure to share this episode with a friend who's trigger happy and tag us while you're listening. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next week, pull it together, girl.